Onomatopoeia. It's a fun word, isn't it? In English, onomatopoeia is defined as the naming of a thing or action by a vocal imitation of the sound associated with it. Or, in real brief terms, onomatopoeia is just sound words, or words that represent different noises. Normally, you don't hear them all that often. They're used in comic books as fun emphasis to actions, as well as in other literature to simply display a sound, but aren't really used in our day-to-day speech. In Japan, the case is actually quite different. While they also use onomatopoeia in their literature and their comics called manga, they actually often use it in their day-to-day lives as well. My name is Chase Carey, and I am a fourth-year Japanese student at the University of Rhode Island. In this video, I'm going to go more in depth into Japanese onomatopoeia or onomatopoeia. I plan on describing the usage of onomatopoeia in Japanese, why it is used in this way, and what are the social and cultural views on using onomatopoeia in speech. So, how exactly is onomatopoeia used in everyday speech in Japan? Well, unlike English, which actually only has one type of onomatopoeia, there are three main types of onomatopoeia. These types are called giseigo, giongo, and gitaigo. Giseigo can be described in English as the mimicking of sounds of humans and animals. For example, a dog's bark is wan wan in onomatopoeia and is a giseigo word. Giongo are the words that represent sounds made by inanimate objects, such as pressing a button, making the pimpon noise. Finally, we have gitaigo, which represents the sounds made by doing an action or that describe the condition of something. For example, the condition of laziness and the action of rolling around can both be represented by the gitaigo word goro goro. These different types of onomatopoeia are what allow for it to be used a lot more than it is in English. However, you may now be wondering why exactly they would want to use onomatopoeia so much rather than using normal words. Allow me to explain. As stated by Hiroshi Nara in his article on onomatopoeia for the University of Pittsburgh, the Japanese language, especially non-Chinese native vocabulary referring to action or condition, lacks a specific description of how action is carried out or condition obtained. Hiroshi continued by giving an example for this explanation. In this example, he explains how in English, there are multiple different ways to talk about the action of crying, such as weeping, sobbing, sniffling, etc. And each of these words actually describes a different level of crying. Sniffling would be like a very soft cry, whereas sobbing and weeping would describe a louder and more upset kind of crying. In Japanese, however, there's only one word for crying, naku, which is also so vague that it could be used to be talking about the cries of a bird instead of the cries of a person. In order to combat this simplicity, Japanese people use onomatopoeia to better describe the type of crying. For example, shiku shiku would be onomatopoeia similar to a sniffling cry, and wah wah would be more like a weeping or sobbing cry. This allows for more variation in the Japanese language and also allows for people to better express themselves in all types of situations. So, what do Japanese people think of the use of onomatopoeia in their everyday speech? Does it make you sound less formal? Do people know of all the onomatopoeia words? Well, after browsing different sources, multiple lessons in my Japanese classes, and speaking with some of the Japanese foreign exchange students, I've come to the conclusion that onomatopoeia in Japanese is just like all of the other more informal words in the language. Onomatopoeia isn't seen as a lesser form of speech. However, there's definitely a time and a place. There's a strict structure that honorific and formal speech must follow at all times. However, onomatopoeia interrupts this structure, making it unusable in a formal setting. On top of that, similarly to other informal words in the language, if someone doesn't understand the word, you can simply explain it with other words and move on. It was slightly underwhelming to learn that all of these onomatopoeia words are treated basically as normal words. However, it's been very fun and interesting to learn about all the different types of onomatopoeia and all of its different uses. I hope this video has helped you learn more about onomatopoeia as I have. Thank you so much for watching.